High Grade Clanch Custom.
Hey, what's up again, everybody? Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, GundamReviews.net, and you've already seen the unbox and the parts for the Clanch Custom, which have enough differences to set it apart from the regular Grunt over there, but now it's time to put it together and see how it stacks up compared to the past Grunts and its contemporaries. When he's all put together, I really do think, and of course it's completely subjective, that the Clanch, though, is one of the more interesting mobile suits in terms of just grunt production suits that we've ever seen on the EFF in any century here. The color scheme is definitely going to work, as it's going to be a throwback to the Adels from the second generation there. Well, it's still going to keep that sleek and modern look, but whereas the regular Clanch is going to have the smooth legs, this one is going to have the appearance of those big bulky thrusters on the front. Even though they're not actually going to have a gray piece of plastic sticking out of them, just the seals, they're still going to look good. But even better, I was worried if these parts on the back that are going to go down from the elbows and not actually bend up when you move the forearms up might get lost, but I definitely don't think that they do, even though they are somewhat thin if you're looking at them straight on. From any angle whatsoever, you're going to see the white parts, you're going to see the blue parts. When you combine it with a great overall design and a commander's antenna, that just sort of adds to the spikiness that you're getting on the thighs and on the back of the arms. This guy's definitely full of win in terms of looks. Will posability be the same, though? For the legs, you're not able to bring them forward because of that big bulky part up there. And if you want to get them off to the side, the skirts will go up and zero problem whatsoever getting full splits. And if you saw some of the poses for the regular Clanch, you've seen that these guys are very posable and very unique looking as they go jetting off. The ankles are going to move around, and even though there's very little surface area actually touching the ground, it does a good job of staying in place, and the toes are going to bend up nicely. The upper body is going to rotate around and rock back and forth and generally just look solid here. The shoulders, these parts can be loose occasionally, which is problematic, but you can bring that around as long as he doesn't karate chop the camera here. You can move the shoulders up and ever so slightly forward and back. The forearms, you're only going to get a 90, which is somewhat disappointing, but just remember that the most important feature of this is these blades, and they're not able to come forward unless you want to bring up the whole arm, which is going to start to make it look a little bit awkward there, as you also get to see some of the hollow panels, which are unfortunately going to be exposed. You are able to bring these back, though, but not much more than that, as it seems like it wants to pop off, although it's going to be okay, but you can see the gray plastic there separating from the inside. And you can bring the white blades forward. Why you would want to set up a pose like this is somewhat beyond me, but nonetheless, it's still good to give you more swing options there than less. When he's armed up, I think the Dodds is going to look great in hand, especially with that blue piece on there and the cool mix of the white and gray by providing that gray in the middle. It looks great. The small shield, definitely not distracting, and it's still just astonishing how solid this kit is for something that is so posable and also transformable. There's a whole bunch of TF mobile suits that could definitely learn a lesson from this kind of kit. Comparison time now, where you can see the Age 1 based regular Adel over there on the right in its non-Diva colors. I always laugh thinking of Adel and Diva at the same time. Great color scheme though overall, but definitely going to be a lot to block here with the old school Sparrow shoulders up there and the legs. Also just the fact that he's going to have so much more blue both on the waist and on pretty much 3/4 of the legs there, or so it looks. He's also going to have a much larger shield with the plus of the gray on the inside, but you can still see enough commonality there just in the fact that they're going to have the white arms and that little white touch that goes under the clear blue parts, but definitely it looks like we've stepped up a generation into the Age 2 influenced Clanch. Here's the regular Clanch, and his arm is up to just show off the thruster behind and what you're going to see with it. Definitely this guy is going to look a lot smoother and more insectoid, if you want to put it that way, even though the commander's antenna is definitely going to set apart the custom over here, but it's definitely the thighs and what you just see on the front of the legs. I think that's definitely a big plus, and I am really liking the blades, although at this angle, when he's rotating around, it's a lot easier to see them. They do tend to get lost compared to the wider ones here with the two colors. And how fun would it have been if these two had got to fight together, as we've got the White Wolf of the first and second generation, before Sarek Abyss took over the role of Senpai for a young Kyo in the third generation. Definitely not a lot of similarities in terms of the mobile suits, but some cool parts there for the characters, and again, they both added something to the story. Posing on the ground is going to be alright. You will have a little bit of trouble with him standing up on those small toes. A little less cool, but a little more secure perhaps here, as you can just see him spinning around. The blades are definitely going to be somewhat problematic there, is because they do have to just come out of the elbows, which are unmobile there. You can see that when they're going back, they're sort of going to get lost, and when they're brought forward, they're going to look a little bit awkward, as they just don't look like there's something that you can deploy in terms of Wolverine single blade style. From the manual and box, you can always get an idea of just how posable Bandai thinks the kit's going to be, because if they're always showing it off, of course this is a Transformer, so they're going to have to show off some of the transformation, which is going to take up some valuable art space inside the book and around the box. But you can just tell that you're going to have to rack your imagination for it, and I leave it up to you as to how exciting this can be. Really, you can have the arms coming awkwardly forward, although it's not as bad as the Victory Gundam and his shield there. Have the white part up, the blue parts down, split them apart a little bit with the hands. You could throw on the beam sabers if you wanted to. And overall, he's just going to look more strange, I think, if you try to deploy them forward, than cool. You can pop the beam saber handle out of the shield there, and even though the legs are not all that exciting here in terms of the posing, I think it may be almost better off if you get the arms off to the sides just to get everything swung out there. You can put the one regular beam saber into the hand. Of course, you've got a weapon holding hand for either side there to go along with a cool looking fist, and don't forget you've got the cool hey dude with the two fingers up there. But a nice little touch too is that you can just put those into the forearms there, in the forearm protectors, and it's probably going to look even better if you actually had a shield on, so he would actually be protected when he goes slicing through a random Vegan grunt. For the transformation, you're going to switch around those forearm covers down there and the manipulators, pop the shoulders out, get rid of that key that's plugged in there poorly to the back, and drop the head down, and it's actually going to do a good job of locking its nose down inside. Rotate the forearms around to get them in line with the shoulders, then bring them back up here, and before you attach in the shield and the key there, remember that you're going to have him actually hold his hands for a transformation, as ridiculous as that sounds. Here it is with the shield locked into place there thanks to the key, and with just a big bend back there of the waist section, you're going to get some very uninspired transformations. For the feet there, it's probably even going to be more worse in terms of just accentuation by the thighs there, and you can see that the toes are at least pointed in the right direction. Rifle/nose cone in place does a great job of hiding the head, which has already done a pretty good job of at least getting his nose down out of the way. But if you think he's done regular clanch style, remember this guy is custom and still has a trick up his sleeve. But this is why Sarek gets paid the big bucks compared to, the rest of Sarek's team. For the transformation here, I'm going to take it back what I was saying about the thighs. When he's up here on the action base, angled up at a bit of an unfortunate angle, nonetheless, you can fix it and have him on the ground still with the landing gear. These parts are really not going to stand out, and if anything, they just look like they're going to add some thrust to the bottom of the actual body there. But even better, those blades, which struggled to find just a really good place, and when he's in his MS mode, do a very good job here of bringing the cannons forward. You can see them nicely exposed there, and probably a little bit of black ink down at the end would really help. But just by having that little bit of white part back there to sweep back is going to add a nice little touch there to match onto the tail from the shield. And overall, I think that he's a real step up on the regular clanch, which until now I was a big fan of the transformation for its simplicity here. You can see just the way the legs go in and the arms and everything, but when you see the custom compared to the regular clanch, this guy is screaming at least 3 times better, thanks to the antenna, if not to the color scheme. So that's going to wrap up my look at the mobile suit and the transformation here for the Clanch Custom. And remember, if you checked out my review, you can see more information about the transformation in the video for the regular Clanch, and more importantly, some very cool air poses. If you're not focused on trying to get the forearms to do something cool, I think that the Custom is going to look better here in its transformation mode. And just remember that this is one of the most dynamic kits up in the air, thanks to the 1,300 yen and the extra plastic that you're paying for in the form of that display base. Anyway, everybody, why don't you let me know what you think of the MS and the transformation, Sarek in general, and the video. Love to hear from you, and stick around for the final verdict. Thanks as always for watching, everybody. See ya.
Wow, nice transformation.
Yeah, well, you know, yours isn't all that bad. Mine's pretty cool, though.
What are you talking about? I'm awesome. When I transform, I carry barley.